Just injury updates, if you wouldn't mind, on ahead of Monday.
To be honest, everything's all right as it was. Couple of knocks and niggles, a little bit coming out of the game that you'd expect. But Patrick's back, working. Well, no, he's not back. He's working his way to being back. So I don't want to get ahead of that one. But he's certainly in making good progress and back closer to training with us, which is positive. So that's good news.
Lenny, is he be back Monday?
We're still working on that one. So there's a possibility, but at this stage it's not 100% sure.
The cushion you've built to 6 now has naturally led people to look ahead to the summer, whether that be signings or your own future. You've obviously done a fantastic job since arriving in January. I mean, how much would you love to take the role beyond the summer?
I've said it many times. I enjoy being here. You know, I enjoy the role I'm in. We've had some good results and we're in decent shape. I think there's a lot to go. We still want to keep improving. You know, there's layers that we want to get to. Really, I'll see. You know, I'll see. I keep saying the same things in front of you every week. You know, there's only so much I can say in terms of that. But I've said it many times again. I enjoy being here. I love being here. It's a real privilege to be in the position I am, but thriving with the responsibility that we got.
When are you expecting clarity?
I'm not sure, to be honest. And it's genuinely it's not something in terms of deadlines that I'm really chasing. I think it'll become clear when it's going to become clear, and I'm here at the moment to help the team and help the club get results. And at the moment we're doing all right. We're doing all right. We can keep pushing and getting better. So really, that's genuinely all I'm focused on right now.
Afternoon, Michael. You talk about enjoying the role so far, and I know there's a lot of football to go as well, but so far, what have you enjoyed most about your return so far? Being a player for so long, has any part of the job surprised you?
I don't necessarily think surprised. Kind of been here for quite some time and seen quite a lot. Some ups and some downs. So you kind of experience helps you a lot in situations, you know. So I wouldn't say being surprised by it. Working with the players is what I enjoy, you know, and that's a big kind of passion of helping them develop and then ultimately getting results and sharing with the supporters. You know, when you get important wins and big wins and you have moments to enjoy them moments, it's what we're all here for, right, in the end. So you've got to make the most of them as well.
Just on terms of the job long term, when it is brought up outside the walls of Carrington, sceptics kind of bring up Ollie's time at the club in terms of comparisons to your term at the moment. Just wonder your thoughts on that comparison, but also, do you find maybe that discussion sometimes disrespectful to maybe your own development as a coach over the last few years, but also to a good friend in Ollie as well?
I don't think it's disrespectful. I think I've got the utmost respect for him. He's a close friend of mine, so I worked closely with him when he was here. So I was quite attached to that, and I thought we did a lot of good things really, and became close. And in the end, obviously, it changed and it went a different direction. That's football. I think comparisons you could compare to all sorts of different situations and managers and coaches and teams over the years. It just depends on what you want to choose to compare, but it's irrelevant really. It really is, and that's not a negative or a positive. It doesn't really have any link at all. I think we're a different team now, irrespective of me, who's in charge. It's a different team, it's a different time, so I don't really think comparisons literally make any difference at all.
Can I ask you about Bruno? He's many people's favourite to be player of the season, and in terms of his attacking stats, he's a mile ahead of pretty much everybody else in terms of goals created, certainly. So I'm just wondering, in terms of, if you can explain to us, since you've been in here when it all seemed to change, exactly what you've facilitated or the club's facilitated to push him to those levels again.
Well, certainly personally, I think giving Bruno the platform to go and perform, like all the players, you know, I think we try to create the structure and a team set up really to try and bring out the best of everyone within that. There's obviously limitations in terms of everyone's got to sacrifice a little bit for the good of the team. But for me, I like seeing Bruno in attacking positions with a little bit of freedom. He obviously again plays for the team, and he's a big responsibility within that. And I thought he did that ever so well, especially on Saturday without the ball and the defensive work that he did. So he's got big responsibility within that. But trusting him. You know, he's a very good player. He sees things. He's creative. He's got a really good brain. He's a big part of the group as well, and a big influence. So a lot of it's in trust and trying to put him in a position where we think he can make the biggest difference, really.
I was going to ask you about the various qualities that he's got. Is there any particular that have impressed you since you've come in, now that you've seen it at closer quarters, and why?
I've known Bruno a long time and worked with him when I was here, when he came to the club. So I wouldn't, again, it hasn't surprised me. I knew exactly what he could bring. I think over time you kind of evolve, and experience helps, and you can certainly see that he's grown as well, and in a real positive way. So he's just a big influence. He's had a big impact, and he's playing ever so well at the moment. So we're delighted with that.
Thank you,
Michael. Obviously, since Saturday, we've seen he's lost his job. I just wonder, as a young English coach, how you view management at the moment. I was working it out. The time that you were at Middlesbrough, there's 20 managers currently in work who have been in a job longer than you were at Middlesbrough for, and there's been 20 managerial appointments since you've been appointed here. I just wonder how you go about
it. You do a bit of maths there, aren't you? Come on.
Just counting. I can't count
Go on,
to 20.
how many's left?
How do you do that job? Because you don't get time to build anything in the way that you used to do.
No, there's obviously two sides. So I think there's definitely instant results, and the next game being as important as ever. But there's definitely the responsibility, and certainly on our thinking as a coaching staff and as a club of what the future looks like, and trying to make that better in the bigger picture. You can only be positive and look to what's achievable. That's how I am. I think there's all sorts of negatives or setbacks or what ifs in the world anyway. I think I like to live my life in a positive way in what can be achieved every day, to be honest with you. So ultimately at the end it's some sort of success for us until now at the end of the season, and then see what happens after that. But I don't think about what could go wrong. We get balanced, obviously, because we've got to make decisions on that, but I don't live my life like that. It's more of a case of what can be achieved. I think that's a much nicer way and positive way to look at it.
Does it not affect your thinking, though, when you know that in 2 months' time, if results don't go well, not you specifically, but a manager can be out of a job just over a very short space of time?
Not massively. It doesn't day-to-day my thinking, or how we work with the players, or how we set teams up, how I approach it, my mentality to working in the role I'm in. It genuinely doesn't. It doesn't. I think it's the world we live in some ways, but I really don't think like that. I just keep thinking about what we can achieve, what success looks like for me personally in some ways, but more about the group, the staff, the players, and the club. I think that's the most important thing, and it's such a big difference, half full, half empty. You know, what do you focus on? Some people naturally focus on different things. For me, it's all about what we can achieve and how we're going to get there.
Back to Manchester United now. We heard from Michael Carrick, didn't we, in the last hour as they prepare to face Brentford on the Monday Night Football. Let's cross to Daniel Kahn now, who was sat in his press conference asking those all-important questions. Good to see you, Dan. Thanks for joining us. We saw a makeshift centre-back partnership, didn't we, from United when they faced Chelsea. Will Carrick be boosted by any returns, though, in defence?
Yeah, good evening, Vicky. Good evening, Clinton. Absolutely. I think got to watch training a little bit this morning here at Carrington. Also heard from Michael Carrick himself this evening ahead of Monday Night Football against Brentford. The good news is he'll get Harry Maguire back. He's available after suspension. And I think we saw maybe not as much in that game at Stamford Bridge last weekend, but the Monday before that, their defeat to Leeds at Old Trafford, really the big miss Harry Maguire was in both boxes. Really, I think the feeling was with him on the pitch, maybe they would have had a much better performance in that game in particular. But look, he's back available. Not as good news with Lenny Euro, though. He wasn't in training this morning. Michael Carrick telling us that he's hopeful, though, he could be involved on Monday night. Lisandro Martinez, though, he is still out. He's going to miss another 2 games with his suspension after his red card against Bournemouth. So I think very unlikely we'll see Nuasar Mazraoui partner Aidan Heaven in that defence that was victorious at Stamford Bridge last weekend. But look, I think the big question is, will it be Aidan Heaven next to Harry Maguire, or will Lenny Euro be fit enough to come back into the team? Based on Saturday's performance, you'd say Aidan Heaven has to stay in that team based off what was so impressive, his first start since the beginning of January.
Yeah, and Dan, there's been loads of speculation over Carrick's future at the club, but is this similar to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's time at Old Trafford, do you think?
Look, I think it's been a narrative, Vicky. I think that's fair to say since Michael Carrick was appointed. The whole discussion around him staying beyond the end of this season, there has been a strand to this tale about maybe making comparisons to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in that caretaker period until the end of the season that became permanent after that international break. Now, look, I think it's become a bit more pertinent because after he was given a full-time contract, a multi-year contract after that initial international break, results really tailed off. And I think people were saying, really, could that happen under Michael Carrick after a similar type break? Could that new manager, new head coach bounce wear off a little bit? And it's something we haven't really asked Michael Carrick himself. We've seen former players, journalists all talk about it, but I thought I'd ask Michael Carrick himself what he has thought about those comparisons.
I thought we did a lot of good things, really, and became close, and in the end, obviously, it changed and it went a different direction. That's football. I think comparisons, you could compare to all sorts of different situations and managers and coaches and teams over the years. It just depends on what you want to choose to compare, but it's irrelevant, really. It really is. And that's not a negative or a positive. It doesn't really have any link at all. I think we're a different team now, irrespective of me, who's in charge. It's a different team. It's a different time. So I don't really think comparisons literally make any difference at all.
Well, so to answer your question, Vicky, you heard from Michael Carrick there say it's absolutely irrelevant, any comparisons to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. But look, focuses on Monday night against Brentford. Manchester United need 6 points ultimately to mathematically qualify for Champions League football for next season, but they do look in a pretty favourable position. Monday night, though, it's going to be a pretty challenging test when you compare the last time these two sides met in the Premier League, September, under Ruben Amorim, and Manchester United got dismantled by Igor Thiago, Jordan Henderson and co. So can Manchester United maybe put that result to bed and also cement their chances for Champions League football next season? Still feels a little bit away, but Monday Night Football, Manchester United against Brentford.
Yes, thank you for the promo. Thank you very much, Dan. OK, look, Clinton, as Dan was saying there, you know, we heard Carrick say that actually it's irrelevant to compare his tenure to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's. But do you think that's fair, or that's what everyone's doing right now?
No, they're trying to compare him. I don't think it's fair because I understand what they're saying, and because he's done well as interim, and then you give him the manager's job, and
Ole did well as interim, and then
doesn't go well. But he can't. They're two different people, and the response, it's the here and now, and all you can focus on the here and now is Michael Carrick has got Man United into the Champions League spot, and it looks like they will stay there and be playing Champions League football. And where we were talking about the football club at the start of the season, basically struggling big time under Ruben Amorim, and now getting that opportunity to play Champions League football back. I think like Man United fans feel like they've got their team and their football club back, and huge credit must go to Michael Carrick. I think he's done a brilliant job. The thing is, what you look at it, when he suffered a little bit when they lost to Leeds, and then you look, he's never really been under pressure. Then he was like, all right, you're under a bit of pressure here. You're going to the Chelsea game. Don't have your recognised centre-backs, and then you're playing Mazraoui and Aidan Young Heaven, who was outstanding, to be fair, and you go and beat Chelsea. That showed his credentials, Michael Carrick, and that shows that those players are playing for him, and he's playing players in the right position. That's all it took for Ruben Amorim. You had good players at Man United, you're just playing them out of position. That's what he's gone in and told them they're good players, and he's getting a tune out of all the players.
That sounds like to me that you think, should they get Champions League football, he's the man for the job then?
No, I didn't say that because
Oh,
you know
okay, I'm
why?
putting words into your
Because
head, sorry.
no, me personally, if I was Michael Carrick, I'd think I deserve to get it,
Yeah.
and I think Man United should get it. But I don't know the conversations they've had, and by.
Is he a big enough name? That's what
Well,
everyone
I
says
don't
for
mind.
Manchester
Yeah,
United.
I understand what you're saying, big enough name, but he's a good young coach, and I think young coaches deserve opportunities. I think the job he's done at Man United, getting them into the Champions League, why doesn't he get it? But I don't know if they've had conversations before to say, do we want a bigger name? Well, sometimes you need to be careful with bigger names, because it's not always bigger names that come in and do well. Where Michael Carrick, he's got to tune out the players. You heard him, Buemo, come out and Managerial, and say that we want him, to stay as manager. So when players are coming out and saying that means you got the players on board. So, yeah, he'll have to have a talk with the hierarchy in the summer. But I, for one, hope he does get the job.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because you mentioned about the players. I wonder whether Casemiro thinks I've jumped too soon. But he will be leaving. They are reportedly monitoring Real Madrid's Tchouaméni. How do you think he'd fit in at Old Trafford? Well,
No, Tchouaméni's a good player, to be fair. He's very good. He's a French international. He sits there, keeps it simple. Listen, Casemiro's done an outstanding season and won loads of stuff at Real Madrid, where Tchouaméni may be coming from. So, yeah, he's a good player. And you hear a lot of Real Madrid are interested in the likes of maybe Enzo Fernandez and Rodri and players like that. And that is obviously Tchouaméni's position. But, yeah, I think Tchouaméni would be a good one. They're linked to loads, though. They want Anderson, they're linked to Tonali, they're linked to Adam Wharton. So you can see where they're shopping at the moment. They need midfielders, if not one, maybe two, because Casemiro's going, and you've only got Kobbie Mainoo. No disrespect to Ugarte, but I don't think it's really worked out for him at Man United. So the way they want to play, you need more than one or two. You need probably two world-class midfielders. But I like Kobbie Mainoo. I think he's been outstanding. So that is where they're looking at the moment. But yeah, Tchouaméni would be a good signing.
somebody that also has been outstanding, Bruno Fernandes. I mean, he's just close, I think 2 off that record of assists. Do you think he'll do it?
Yeah, I think he'll do it.
Yeah.
He's a ridiculous player, Bruno Fernandes. And it made me laugh when people questioned him when he's the captain and he gets frustrated. He gets frustrated because sometimes players are not on his wave level and he gets frustrated. But it doesn't mean like it means he's disappointed, but it doesn't mean he doesn't care or anything or he's petulant and stuff like that. He's just a wonderful player who 9 times out of 10, that's a great ball to Casemiro as against Leeds. He just 9 times out of 10 picks the right pass. I just think he's a fantastic player. If Man United were probably going for the title, he'd probably get Player of the Year. That's the season that he's had. He's been outstanding. What a player he is, and to a long deal because he's got everything. He is probably one of the best 10s there is in the Premier League now. I know we talk about Cherki and he's been outstanding, but no one got Bruno Fernandes' numbers. And his numbers this season have been frightening for Man United. In a team earlier on in the season that was struggling big time.
Yeah, like I say, 2 off that record of 20 assists. Paul Pogba's given him high praise indeed. He said that if he'd be in the conversation for the Ballon d'Or if he were playing at Manchester City. Do you agree with that, or do you think that's a step too far?
Why not? Of course he would be. He's a top player. His numbers don't lie. Yeah, if he was at Man City and he was winning stuff, and then also, you know, at Champions League and they were winning stuff and that, he would be in contention. But he's not. He's at Man United and he's doing well at Man United. But yeah, of course he'd be in contention. He's a fantastic footballer. I do rate him highly. He should be in them conversations, but he won't be in the conversations for Ballon d'Or because he's at Man United. But Man United are doing well, but you never know. In future years, he might be in contention.
It'll be interesting to see whether he can top a season like he's had this year. Right, Manchester United.
Is the Champions League race already over?
Yeah, for me it is. Damaging weekend for Chelsea, wasn't it? Really damaging. Starting I thought it was a decent professional performance, albeit they've had one. Aiden Heaven was their only fit centre-half going into that game. So I thought Chelsea surely have got to fancy themselves to take maximum points here. Didn't work out like that, and I thought it was a good performance. I thought they were solid. I thought they were in control. And Chelsea look like they're playing in moments, and the moments are not good enough for them. I don't think they can keep a clean sheet. I think the defenders are not up to it. Goalkeeper as well, and Cunha scores a wonderful goal. And then you hope that the rest of the teams can do you a favour playing against your opposition, and Aston Villa managed to get over the line. Sunderland were very unlucky to come back late on, but Tammy Abrams, ex-Chelsea player as well, comes such late on in the game to score the winner. And 100 minutes as we saw there, Virgil van Dijk steps up, and there was nothing in that game either. For Liverpool to take 3 points, and and puts Chelsea in a really, really difficult position.
But what does it mean for Liam Rosenior if they don't make Champions League?
Never know what the hierarchy think there at Chelsea, do we? I was a bit alarmed when I heard Bowley say last week, I think we're behind.
It was Ed Barley, wasn't it?
Ed Barley, sorry, Ed Barley, yeah. So I think we're behind Liam Rosenior. I mean, what does that actually mean? I mean, it's just an incredible statement. You're either behind him or you're not. And they should be behind any manager who's in charge of their football club. Liam's doing his best. He started very well, but the results have been poor recently. And that, when you're playing against your, direct competition there for the Champions League spots at home, with an injury crisis there at the moment in Man United, you need to be taking all the points. And he didn't do that.
We'll get the Chelsea view in a moment from a Chelsea fan. But as for Liverpool, OK, they won the derby. That's always big in any derby. But is Champions League qualification enough for Arne Slot?
I've always said it would be on the back of him winning the Premier League last year. I think that was a minimum requirement. I'd worry for Arne if they didn't qualify for next year's Champions League. But it looks like they have now. And I think he's earned the right to get another go at it next season.
Michael Carrick at Manchester United.
Where do I sign? Where do I sign Michael? He's done it. He's got his job now. There's no. Can't look anywhere else. How much pressure would it be for anyone else? If they're talking about Luis Enrique, then there's an argument there. But for the people we're talking about going in and taking his job at the moment, keep Michael. Keep Michael. Why wouldn't you? He's done a brilliant job since he's been there. He's turned them around. Yes, he's had one game a week, and that helps. And next year he's going to have Champions League football, but that's what they want, isn't it? Give him the opportunity to manage the team. Help strengthen his squad. Bring in some more players. I think their recruitment's been good in recent times. Lammers has been fantastic. Cunha and Burmo. Without doubt, give him the job now. He can't do any more than what he's done.
And your own old club, Villa. Looks like they're going to be in the Champions League next season as well, and they've still got the Europa League to come as well.
I mean, what a job he's done, Unai Emery. We're talking about what a poor start. Come out the blocks, couldn't score a goal. I think it was the first four games. Really had to struggle up, but all of a sudden they put an unbelievable run together. Then they had a dip again, but that's what good managers do, pick them up again. Little bit of an injury crisis in their midfield areas, got them back, fought through that, got the players back to fitness, and now they're flying again. On the back of juggling the Europa League, which he will win this season. I know they've got the semi-final against Forest. They'll win it. He's won it 4 times. He'll win it 5 times this year.
There is a scenario where you could get a 6th team in the Champions League. OK, Aston Villa would have to win the Europa League, which you're saying they will, but they'd also have to finish 5th, and they're currently 3 points ahead of Liverpool. Let's say that happens, right? And that is possible, by the way. Chelsea at the moment are 6th with 48 points, right? Brentford, Bournemouth are on the same points. Brighton, Everton, only 1 point behind them. Sunderland another point further back. Fulham another point further back. Can you imagine the race for 6th in the Champions League if that happens? That's how tight it is. 3 points between Fulham in 12th and Chelsea in 6th.
Well, it makes the Premier League brilliant, doesn't it? Because everything to play for with the bees there. You obviously the Brightons, the Brentfords, Bournemouth. If Iraola leaves Bournemouth in the Champions League next season, he might want to change his mind and want to have a pop at that, but he's made his decision. He will leave. I think he's an elite manager, and I think he's got a big job ahead of him. But what an incredible... I mean, it makes a mockery, in my opinion, of the Champions League, but it makes the Premier League very exciting. When I was in the Champions League, it was like what it said on the tin, the champions play in the Champions League. Now down to 6th place, I mean, come on.
All right, well, it could happen.